So far you've just told us some absolute gems. Now from that I'm taking out that we need the chemical in the water to get it to the home, the government does what it's got to do, etc. Once we get it here, we don't have to consume it. So we can use a water filter of some description, shower filters in the shower, whole house filter, whatever it might be. But just staying on the drinking water for the moment. I am getting a little bit scared of the quality of the water that's going to the public as we speak, okay? And we never used to push reverse osmosis water filters much because we were just scared that they broke the structure and that they take too much salts, etc. out of the water. But now that it's getting real bad, the water, I'm thinking that the line's been moved a bit and maybe we should be looking at reverse osmosis water filters again now. Had a quick chat with you out the front and you said yes, but you need to restructure it, so we are looking at grander, etc, etc. But your thoughts on RO systems and
look, I'll be honest, I've never been a big fan on their own. And the simple reason is we don't need water, we need to be hydrated.
Right.
And the water, along with the molecules and even, believe it or not, even the water microbiome. Okay, but the water minerals, and a classic example is calcium in Western Australia where I live, you know, calcium. Calcium and magnesium, but also zinc and selenium and iodine and molybdenum and boron are very low level concentrations, but they're in what's called a colloidal form.
Right.
So they're very small amounts of them, extremely small amounts, but easily absorbed into the body. So when you drink them, they get into your body. Now, when you do reverse osmosis, you remove them all. And I remember this again when I was decades ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, in fact, playing basketball. And I'd finish a really hot game on a hot day, and I'd drink 2 litres of water, and I felt bloated and thirsty.
Sure.
Because I was drinking water, which had some minerals in it, but it didn't have enough, which is where that whole thing, the research on the original Gatorade came from. The enriching it with a little bit of sugar and a little bit of minerals enabled you to not just take the water in, sorry, not just drink it, but take it in, and in your cells, it draws the water into your cells. But you need those minerals to draw the water into your cells. So that's where reverse osmosis, which removes those, has really, they've done damage to the water. So the critical thing is anyone going to use reverse osmosis or any other technique that takes everything out has to be able to put something back in that the body can then use it to literally just be absorbed into the body and then hold on to it.
So from that then, and what you've been talking about, I'm thinking that would it be fair to say that your thoughts nowadays are that people shouldn't be drinking tap water unless it's filtered?
Look, it's a complex question in that if you're caught out somewhere, you're much better off having water than dehydrating. My message to people is whenever you can, as much as you can, you should be having some filtered water. And again, you know, we talked about chlorine, we talked about fluoride. There are so many other potential toxins in water, and I didn't even touch on pesticides, but again, 30 years ago, I did a project where we looked at the catchment areas for water, and we were asked to find out what pesticides they are using, and they had no idea. Nobody, no one in the authorities to this day still don't had any idea what was being used, when, where, how much was being used, and what were the byproducts. Because even if you use a pesticide, let's say a very typical one, chlorpyrifos, known as an organophosphate pesticide, it goes into the soil and then the microbes break it down and alter it, and over a 6-month period you've got a totally new range of products.
Really?
Straight away it starts happening, but and some of these may be more toxic than the original one. And that is, we don't know. And so we had to go back to the chemical company to say, what are the breakdown products going to be? And they said, we're not allowed to tell you.
Oh, really?
So there's all this stuff in the water that you don't even know about. Nobody in the authorities, nobody has any idea whatsoever what is going in the water. And in fact, there are cases where they won't even know what to monitor They don't know how to monitor it.
Yeah, I don't think that those things get monitored. We've had conversations with the water board and stuff like that, and obviously the water board are under the impression that the water that's going out to humans and households is okay, so they're not even testing.
As long as people aren't lying on the streets dying and kicking the bucket, within a day or two of it, then it's kind of, in a sense, ignored. Now, we do know it's causing damage. There is no doubt about it.
Yes.
The equation of how much then are the costs and benefits.
Yeah.
And for anyone who's getting older, in other words, anyone older than 25,
yes,
they probably need to be considering this. In fact, even younger, obviously.
Right.
But looking at what's going in, because it has this long-term impact.
Yeah.
Not necessarily accumulation, but long-term impact on your health.
It'll just build up. And
well, it affects your different organs, your ability of your immune system. We know that we can go your liver is the main detoxification organ.
Yes.
And so your liver and the enzymes in that, presumably they're working on the right pH. Okay.
Right.
It has to detox them. Has to get rid of them, spit them out.
Yep.
And then it goes through in the blood around the body and into the kidneys and out the body and so on. So even if it is eliminated, the stress it puts on the liver. And have a look around, and all you've got to do is see the increase in the diseases such as non-alcoholic fatty liver.
Right. I guess briefly, I have been into some of these catchments where I live in the country. There's pine trees above the around those catchments and things like that. I'm aware of some issues on the East Coast at the moment, and they do have the statistics of death rates in those communities and things like that, because all of the land above the catchment has now been hunted for deer, killing rabbits with baits, killing foxes with baits. All this sort of stuff's going on. And they're basically run by private companies, so I'm sure the government's got no idea what's going on there.
The baits and things are probably very small time, but compared to the pesticide use, it's a really simple equation. If it goes into the soil, it's going to go into the water. Because the water is the end part. It comes out there. During the floods over east, you saw that everything was just going in there, and it's going into the water. There is no way in places like Western Australia where there's a lot of groundwater. You put it on top. Where do you think it's going to go? And you can measure levels of DDT, which was banned back in the 60s, and heptachlor banned in the 80s. You can still measure the breakdown products of some of these in water. 30, 40 years on.
Still here today.
Yeah,
it's just not going away, is it?
No. So we know it gets in there.
Okay, look, that's brilliant. And I'll just step one back, because I'm not the biggest guy on RO systems, but if this stuff is in our water, people are probably going to be needing that to get them out. I'm a real big carbon person myself. Generally I'm on the rainwater, and the carbon will take the pesticides and stuff out of the water. But some of these ones are very nasty, and they probably do need to get an RO system to get that out, unfortunately. So that's where it's sort of a kicker for both ways, isn't it? We want the best water quality we had, but we need the filtration to get this garbage out.
We do need filtration at the end of the day, and that's what I'm not an expert on.
Well, we're trying to. It's a big topic. Okay, look, that was a great one.